Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's please welcome to the stage the Purdue University Tower of Power Band. We're so glad that you're here to join us on this fine, festive Saturday. I guess it's almost like it's a warm evening, so it's nice. It's almost like the remnants of summer, it feels like today. But we're also glad to be back in here in the House of Jazz at Purdue at the Loeb Playhouse. Let's give a round of applause for Loeb Playhouse for having the jazz bands back. Hopefully this isn't your first time coming. We started off our semester series of concerts on last Friday, and this is the second concert. We have 6 wonderful jazz bands here at Purdue, which is almost an unheard of thing to have so many spectacular young people playing this wonderful music. And tonight, we may have a slightly tart taste in our mouths after yesterday's football game, but as the bands you're going to hear tonight, we're sure to appease your musical sweet tooth, shall we say, with some delectable musical performances. And tonight, that was a good one, you all should remember that one. Tonight we're going to feature with this band the music of a trumpeter and composer and arranger who is the director of jazz studies at the State University of California, Long Beach, and his name is Jeff Jarvis. Jeff Jarvis has arranged music for not only high school, collegiate jazz bands, but for many major pop and R&B stars and jazz stars alike. And while he got his start primarily doing jazz arrangements, as he started to become more on the studio session scene in the state of California, where lots of studio and pop music gets made, he becomes more of a composer or arranger of that style of music. And what we're going to be featuring tonight is the stuff that comes out of that funky R&B-ish Jeff Jarvis library. And so I will introduce soloists and everything as you hear them, but let's just get started, and I hope you enjoy the music that we're going to play. This is the music of Jeff Jarvis, and I'll tell you what it is as we play it. Composition is entitled Critical Mass. Let's give a round of applause for Keith Young on the alto saxophone. Critical Mass. We're going to continue on with a composition that's going to, in the early times of jazz, we tend to say in the history of the music that there are always great vocalists in the canon of the music. But the first, shall we say, scatso that we say historically was ever recorded was recorded by Louis Armstrong on a composition entitled Heebie Jeebies. And it was unheard of for folks who were hearing a vocalist almost imitating what you would hear horn players playing when they were improvising within the music. And then as the music evolves, we go on to have like the band of Duke Ellington, who had a great vocalist, an entertainer by the name of Adelaide Hall, who performed with the Ellington band and would do similar things. It wouldn't be so skibbity bop bop, but you would dot scat solos as much as it was what was called the wordless vocal, where it was almost like singing melodies to songs without using words. So you see the emphasis of singers always trying to imitate the sounds of vocalists, and vocalists are always trying to imitate the sounds of great instrumentalists. And we have our own great vocalist in the form of Hannah Adrisi Alami, and you're gonna hear her performing part of what we would title a wordless vocal on this next composition, and this is Edge of the Earth. vocals, the wordless vocal. Austin Choi on the piano solo. Jack Sloan on the guitar. Edge of the Earth. There's some music that I really tended to like that came later on in my musical listening career, shall we say. And I remember having one record by the Yellow Jackets when I was in high school. And there was a great tenor saxophone soloist with that band by the name of Bob Mincer. And Bob Mincer, just like Jeff Jarvis, teaches out in California. He's on the jazz faculty at the University of Southern California. But he's a great tenor saxophone soloist, and he has a very distinct sound, and his arrangements are very distinct in that it has a characteristic that is immediately identifiable to Bob Mincer's arranging. While this is a Jeff Jarvis chart, it has a Bob Mincer aesthetic to it. And we don't have Bob Mincer here this evening to play for you, but we have our own Bob Mincer in the form of Moses Collin on the tenor saxophone. And we're going to feature him on this composition entitled Native Sons. Scotland on the tenor saxophone. Oh, we can do better than that. Moses Scotland on the tenor saxophone. Our own little Bob Mincer there. We're gonna change the pace up a little bit, and sometimes cats write so many charts that they have tunes that will have, to me, I look at them, I'm like, man, he must have run out of names, where it's like, there's a chart that's called Backdraft, Front Draft, or something like that. But this one, these are all Jeff Jarvis compositions. This is a Jeff Jarvis composition entitled Updraft. He does have a backdraft and a front draft, but this is Updraft. Jada on the tenor saxophone. Abigail Carroll on the vibraphone. Samhita Shanantram on the trumpet. That was Updraft. We've got time for one more composition, and this is a song that is probably famous with a number of great high school bands, and we get a lot of great students to come here, and everybody seems to be familiar with, if not any of the Jeff Jarvis' songs that we played tonight, everybody seems to know this one. The last composition we're going to play is going to be entitled Honk. Malone on the guitar. Reed Schrock on the tenor saxophone. The magnificent Colin Mast on the trombone. Ladies and gentlemen, the Purdue University Tower of Power Band. Thank you all so very much. We've got